And here we go. Happy Monday, everybody. I hope you all have had a lovely, lovely weekend and a fantastic start to the week. Now, this might come as a bit of a shock to you all, but it's November. I'm not really sure how that happened. The recruitment expo that we were at was a month ago. We've got 6 weeks out to the end of the year, and time is flying by. And over the course of the next few minutes, we're going to be speaking with Carl from Conquest, and we're going to be discussing 2026 commission, because now is the time to move this along and start those conversations so we can really make sure that we're transferring everything that we're doing into, as we've said in the title of this event, modern performance models. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Holly Langley. I'm the founder and CEO of Restack, and we work with customers who are primarily on Bullhorn to help them maximize Bullhorn and their wider tech stack so they can be more optimized in what they're doing, and they can be way more profitable to make sure those recruiters are working efficiently. And we're all trying to achieve the same thing together. So, Carl, we've known each other for a long time, but for those of you who don't know you, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, we have known each other for a long time, haven't we? Yeah, I'm Carl. I'm the founder at Conquest. We some people call us the Red Gorilla guys. I was going to get my Red Gorilla. I don't have one here. But we're the commission guys for the recruitment industry. So we automate commission calculations, gamify it, and we provide a lot of data into the industry to help folks make the right decisions.
And that's what we want, isn't it? Like I work with a lot of recruiters, and one of the things that I kind of cover off when we're training with them, I'm like, look, why are we all here? Are you here to do admin, or are you here to make money and love recruitment and have like a life-changing experience, which this industry has done for a lot of us? And lo and behold, no one is here to do admin. They're here to get progression. They want to make some money. And in a heavily sales-dominated industry, we need to make sure and support people in doing that, right? So I'm really excited about how I think recruitment has changed and how we incentivize people has changed over the course of the last few years, because I genuinely see it's happening. Like, yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a big year for us all, and I'm really excited about it. How do you feel about it? Kind of knowing what you know and kind of moving into that year, what do you think it's going to be like?
Well, there's a lot of change, isn't there? And I think that, that's not just a thing for now or next year. There's been a lot of change over the last few years, the pandemic, the post-pandemic boom, the downturn thereafter, and now we're all consolidating, trying to get more from less. So I think that, hopefully a lot of folks have been making a lot of changes, gathering data, preparing themselves, and that they're ready for the year ahead. And specifically with incentives, I think that the fundamentals are still true, and they're relatively unchanged, but we are in a new era now. There are too many folks that have just left their incentives where they were in, the 2010s, or even older than that. And for those folks in particular, it's time to review where you are and get yourself set up for success, not just in 2026, but beyond as well. And what I was hoping to help people with today was just some steps to do that. Where can you start? What tools might be available to you? What metrics might be important? And what might be, as you mentioned, some models, some modern performance models that you might want to consider.
Modern performance models. Modern performance, that's a tongue twister, but I like it. I'm here for it. Fantastic. Look, without any further ado, I think you've got some stuff to talk us through. So let's go. I personally had loads of takeaways from our last webinar. And when we spoke a few weeks ago, one of my key takeaways that I still need to implement is making sure that our team have really good visibility of what they're doing. And I need to go in and understand what drives them. So I've got my pen and paper ready, and I'm excited to get some more takeaways from today. So over to you, Carl.
All right, good stuff. So I've got my presentation here. I'm going to fly through it. Holly, we want this to be quite short and succinct, but I'll try and be quick. I'm going to stay focused on the main things that we've got going on here. But here's the presentation. So the agenda, just to quickly go through it. So we've kind of done the intros. I'm going to touch on the census, which I always like to do. This is free. It's definitely the best data available. I want to touch on that so people know. Then we're going to do reviewing where you are and the models for success. So in terms of the intros, we've kind of already done this. Conquest, we're a software company. We automate commission, we gamify commission, and that's what we're known for. But what we also do is we produce what we call the census. This is an annual exercise. We collate a load of data, we put that into a nice looking report, and then we make that available for free. So, what is it? It's the largest data collection of its kind. We do it so that we can help folks to be confident in decisions what they're making. And this is our main go-to-market motion here. So the thought leadership of, we know what we're talking about. We've got a load of data here. Let's put this together and make it free. So you can go to the website, conquest.io. It's free. We'll never charge for that. And I recommend that you do.
It is really, really helpful. Like, especially if you don't fully know what you want, or you want to find out what other people are doing, like, it is a really, really, really good report. Also, I've had a couple of clients in the past who have kind of said, well, our recruiters aren't happy with what we're doing and this and this and that. And actually you can kind of use this to benchmark where you're at and help your sales team understand that actually they've got quite a good deal at the moment.
Yeah, exactly that. So please, anyone that's listening to this, go and grab it. It's a no-brainer, really, completely free, and we'll be doing it again next year as well. So in terms of where we are in the year, for a lot of folks, they'll be starting a new financial year in January. Making changes to commissions might well be an exercise you're going through now. It can be scary. It can be a bit of a nightmare. I'll give you a couple of easy steps here to take to try and make it easy. And the first thing to do is to just review where you are today. If you're considering change, there'll be some kind of catalyst to that. And that might be financial, some kind of, payout ratio, margins are squeezed. It might be driven by that. It might be driven by feedback from your people. You might be changing business model, hiring people, whatever it is, you're reviewing where you are. So how do we do that? And how do we help you to identify the means from going from bad to good? So the first thing is, I'm just going to give you a couple of quick ratios, really straightforward these, but sometimes people just aren't aware. But this is a great place to start. You've got two main types of payout ratio. The first one is a net payout rate. The sum is there for you. It's really simple. Just go to your P&L for the full year or year to date, and just take your commission line, divide it by your GP line or NFI, however you're defining that, represent that as a percentage, and that is your net payout rate. Now, in our census report, as in when you grab that and you have a look, you'll see that the industry average for this ratio is about 16%, or has been in there this year. So that's kind of like a benchmark. Now, you have to take that with a pinch of salt. This is all very specific and unique to your business, the industry, the sector, the models, all of that type of stuff. But if you're significantly below that or significantly higher than that, then you might want to just kind of circle that and say, okay, we need to pay a little bit more attention to this. We might want to make some changes. And once you've done that one, you then want to do your gross payout rate. And this is taking into account all of your other payroll costs. So you're going to have your commission, of course, but now you're going to add salary, you're going to add employers' NI, you're going to add pension costs, and then you're going to do the same exercise. Divide that number by your GP or NFI, represented as a percentage, and that's going to be a really important number. That's going to be way higher. So for most UK-based agencies, this is going to be significantly over 50% in the current climate. It's going to be really hard to be below there as we move forwards. But that's going to be an important number, because that's your fundamental cost base there. That is your total people cost, and then you have your overheads, and then you have your margin on the top of that. So that's two really important payout rates that everyone should be tracking at all times. And then the next thing that you can do is a health check. Now, we've actually made this super easy. We actually have a free tool. You don't have to put your email in or anything for this on our website, which is our commission health check. And we're going to run through it together now, because there's some really interesting questions in here that'll just get you thinking in the right direction. So if you just come to Conquest under resources at the top there, you'll see there's a health check, and then you just drop in here. Dead easy to find. And these are the questions that you'll be asked. So the first one, how clearly do your consultants understand how their commission is calculated? This is important from their perspective, but it's also important from a scaling perspective. If people don't understand how their incentives work, then it's a broken incentive. So this is a real simple, straightforward fundamental that you should really be getting right straight out of the gate. Next question.
What I would say is, mate, if you don't know the answer to that, go and ask your team. Ask everybody, do a little poll, send it round. Actually, don't put something in. Just because you think it's a 5 doesn't mean that new starter who joined a week ago also thinks it's a 5. So get your feedback into your team, and I'll tell them why you're doing this, right? Because then they'll know that you're kind of looking into this and reviewing this to help them and help the business further. So Oh,
I think
these are great questions.
there's actually a really easy way that you can tell this without asking anyone as well. So if you have to explain how it works more than twice, then you probably don't have it right. The first time is when they first start and you're onboarding them and you explain it to them. The second time is when they earn their first bit of commission. You might expect there to be some questions at that point in time because it's the first time that's real in context for them. If they're asking after that, you probably haven't got this right and you might want to be scoring yourself a little bit further down. The next one is also focusing on the people that you're actually paying and how fair do your consultants perceive your commission plan to be. Now, again, you might already know this because people are saying it. Maybe you've got some sort of anonymous feedback tool where it's mentioned. If not, then I would recommend, just as you've said, Holly, mate, get a survey out there and try to understand where they land. Next question. How well does the plan drive the right sales behavior? So this is a subjective exercise I would suggest for the management team in any recruitment agency. The bigger it might just be you in a small agency. If you're big enough where you have divisional leaders, where you have finance leaders, operational leaders, this is an exercise for you all to take a look at. There are more than one sales behavior. The main one is performance, of course, and that's the fundamental we should be driving. But outside of that, in your own business, and I'm going to touch on this later, what are the other behaviors that you're looking to drive here, and how well is your commission plan aligned to that? This one will almost certainly be known. I'm yet to find a recruiter that doesn't have some idea of what their competitors are paying in their schemes. That's normally use that in the recruitment process and what have you. But compared to your peers, your direct competitors, how competitive is your plan in terms of attracting and retaining that talent? You can also leverage this against the aforementioned payout rate that I've just told you all about. So use that 16%, and you can use that if you don't have any other intel. How easy is it to explain your commission plan to a new consultant? So when you onboard someone, is this something that you don't even need to plan for? Do you need to remind yourself? Do you find it a pain in the backside? Or is it super easy? And I think your answer should be self-explanatory there. It should be relatively easy. It shouldn't necessarily be 20 seconds and you're done. That probably means it's oversimplified, but it shouldn't take you an hour to explain this type of stuff. How much admin effort goes into calculating and paying commission as well? We do have to manage our commission program once it's in there. Of course, this is something that Conquest do, so we're going to ask people and try and have people think about this. But for some folks, this is a real big pain. It takes a lot of time. That type of admin task in today's modern world with tech and automations and integrations and AI, that's bad use of time. And if it is taking too much, maybe consider an improvement to your systems.
And make sure when you're looking at that one, you consider the different people involved, because there'll be someone who's got to do some payroll, someone who's doing it from sales operations, someone who's doing it from sales, someone who then has to, all the managers who then have to argue when it's all wrong. Like there'll be numerous people involved that from a timing point of view. So make sure you're looking at all of those.
Yeah, exactly that. And I would also encourage people, and I think this goes for every buy-in decision, but definitely for this, it's not the raw cost, it's the opportunity cost. Yeah. What could those people be doing with their time strategically or otherwise, rather than that pretty boring task, let's be frank, crunching some numbers.
So I used to hate it. Like for me, as I've told you many times, in my old job, I had to go through and process all of the commissions on a spreadsheet, check it. We had 40 consultants in 3 different countries at one point, and it was honestly the worst day of the month. I used to dread it. And the worst thing was I always knew there was going to be a mistake because something somewhere hadn't quite matched up. And even if it wasn't a mistake, the recruiter thought it was a mistake because the invoice hadn't been paid on time or something like that. And it's just that burden to get people's payroll correct and get all of that right was really, really heavy. And that was my worst day of the month by far.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you've overpaid or underpaid. It's a horrible experience for everyone. And that's, why we ask this. This is the next question to ask yourselves, which is, how confident are you that payouts are always correct? I should also just kind of give that a little bit of a caveat that not just in recruitment, but in any sales organization, errors do occur. Like there are mistakes made. You want to try and limit that as much as you can. And I saw some research a few years ago that suggested that errors with commission calculations fall somewhere in the range of 4 to 8%. That's like the norm worldwide, every industry. This isn't asking you to really get that nailed down to a percentage. It's more like just high level, like, are errors occurring or not? Score yourself against that, because this is another important part of the process. The next part is to do with visibility. This is, I'll never stop banging this drum. I think that this is going to be really important as we move forwards. As Charlie Munger said, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcomes. If you're not even showing your people the incentives, they're much less likely to be engaged. And if they're not engaged, then that's a broken incentive. So visibility is really important. So we're asking, do consultants have visibility on their commission schemes? And, is it from no visibility to full visibility in real time? Score yourself honestly against that. If you doubled headcount tomorrow, how well would your system cope? I think that this is a question not just for commission, but just for everything. And I'm sure that you're speaking to your clients, Holly, about this type of stuff. Those that want to grow, any system that they have in place, tech or otherwise, if you achieve your growth plans, is your current system set up? This is absolutely true for all of your incentives, particularly commission. And a really good example of this is those folks that have built the foundational layer and in their scale journey into 2026 will start introducing their first levels of hierarchy, as that would normally entail manager overrides, manager bonuses of some kind. If you've not set up yourself now to accommodate that, and you're already looking at stretched margins, it's just going to get exacerbated into next year, because you're just going to have to add additional cost. So this is a really important element to consider as well. And the last question is, how strongly do you believe your current structure is driving measurable growth? This one's a little bit more tricky, I will admit, and this health check we went through it all now. It's designed to just be high level to get you thinking about the important parts to help you with the journey. This is probably the trickiest part, but what you can do is take a look at your historic growth trajectory on a growth and a net basis, and then compare it with the same period payout rates for your commission that we looked at earlier on. And what you want to hopefully see is that as the payout rate has increased, so has the margin for the business, so has the revenue trajectory for the business. That's a good situation to be in. If you find that those lines cross when you plot them, then that's a sign that perhaps there could be some distress in the commission setup as you had it, and you might want to pay particular attention to the financial metrics there to ensure you have scalability and sustainability as you move into the future. So that's the last question that we have in this, and when you get to the very end, you'll submit it, you'll get a little score, and then there'll be a prompt to go to some of the free resources that might be able to help you with the process as you move forward. But as I say, that's completely free on the website, so you can dive into that at any point in time.
What I think is brilliant is that there was quite a few questions there, but you're asking things that no one else would ever have thought about. And I think that's really good to get the inside and think about how the recruiters are feeling, as well as the growth of your business. And it could be very easy to sit there and go, well, we've made this, we've paid out this, and this person hasn't really performed. But there's a much bigger picture to this, and that's what we really need to focus on. So yeah, great questions. I wish I had that many years ago.
Yeah, well, it's really just because we're the only party that's like solely focused on this. I think we're well placed to help folks out. So hopefully that'll be of some kind of help. And what we got next, models for success. This is what we were going to talk about. So when you're doing your review and you decide maybe we're paying out a little bit too much, maybe there's a little bit more meat on the bone, we're going to introduce some managers, all that type of stuff. One of the first places that you should start looking is the actual overall structure. And the payout rate, the actual amounts you pay, that comes at the end. And you can do that right at the end. You at first want to get the structures correct. Now, we talked about this last time around, Holly, if you remember this concept of layered structures. So in this year's census, we saw a 48% increase in the presence of a layered structure. And we'll make it nice and easy. So this is what a statement looks like in Conquest, and we bring it to life visually. So in here, this is an example of a layered setup. So in here, and it might be a little bit small for some folks, but the top one here, this is a monthly commission scheme. And then in addition to that, we also have a layered quarterly kicker. So this is what a layered approach, it's basically more than one component. And this works very well on a number of bases. One, it introduces some really basic levels of gamification, because there's now additional quality gates that you need to pass through and additional prizes for doing so. Two, it shifts your payout rate bias. And those that have seen me speak before or read our blog recently, you may have heard us talk about having a threshold without having a threshold. which is really pertinent because thresholds are on the rise. Folks that don't have one are really nervous about introducing one. You shouldn't be. It's a majority that have it. We're expecting that to increase. This is one way of like a middle ground where you don't necessarily have to go from one extreme to the other. Your threshold is built into the longer term component. In this example, that would be quarterly. You might instead have a quarterly scheme with an annual bonus. That's still a layered component, and you would build in your protection into the second part. I can talk about this all day long, and if anyone wants more examples, reach out to me. This is a trend. I strongly recommend that folks look at this in any scenario: contract, perm, exec search, high volume temp. It works for them all.
This is what we have is the structure in our business, which is new because obviously we've only recently hired a salesperson. But it means to me, and the reason why I do that is that we've got the regular recognition and the incentive to consistently bill, as well as we have got to hit our revenue target over the course of this year, and having that bonus incentive at the end of the year, I know is so valuable. And it means that we all are continually having our eyes on the prize, and we know that we can't kind of rest up and think, oh, we've done all right this month. We've got to look at the long-term thing, and that's so far working really well, which is good. So for us.
I'm not shocked, mate. There's some interesting research by the Incentive Research Foundation. It's a couple of years old now, but part of that found that the longer the term of the incentive, the more effective it was. Effective that it was. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But so whether it's quarterly or annual or biannual, the difference between a flat rate and a tiered rate is crystal clear in the data that we see. So it's an overwhelming majority. Almost 80% of recruiters have a tiered approach. That increases to 79% for the fastest growing and 90% for the most profitable. If you're on a flat rate for anything other than an exception, some undesirable revenue, maybe you're just 100% perm, but you'll do a contract placement if it comes along and you want to pay less commission, that needs to go in the bin immediately. That's the number one change that you can make, is just move to a tiered structure. It's far better. There's a reason why everyone does it that way. And I think this might be my last point that I wanted to make. I kind of referenced this right at the very beginning there, but what I'm expecting and what we're already seeing is that folks now are considering a rewards program over individual incentives. What I mean by that is it's no longer good enough to just have a good commission scheme. That's not going to cut the mustard, particularly with the new generation that are coming through. There are other things in addition, not in replace of, but in addition to money, that are going to be drivers, that are going to build motivation and with it performance. And that can be soft rewards. It can be things like an extra day off, a duvet day, an extra holiday, whatever that may be. It can also be social events as a team. So company trips are very, very popular today. And it can also just be overachievement based. And that would be like your lunch clubs, your president clubs, that type of thing. A lot of folks have these things, but they're very disparate. They haven't been considered as part of one cohesive rewards program. And I think that is going to be a really strong trend as we move into next year. And a big hint, that's also going to be a really strong trend for how Conquest approach our product roadmap and what we're looking to do in this area. But a really good starting point, as you do in your review of where you are, is to just write down all of the desired behaviors that you have from your people across the business. And performance, financial performance, is going to be one of them. Another one, though, might be teamwork, for example. Another one might be innovation, for example. And you should be considering how your overall rewards program aligns to all of those behaviors and not just certain ones in isolation. Because what you'll probably find, and what we've found in our work, is that where you over incentivize a single behavior, all of the other ones just get pushed aside. And it's just full eyes on our bill, no matter what, even if it's bad quality business, even if I piss my colleagues off or I rob, a candidate from, someone from another division. This typically has a bad impact longer term. So I would say write down all of your desired behaviors and then try and identify where you have an existing incentive that drives those behaviors. And if it's absent, then consider it as part of a cohesive, well-rounded rewards program and assign your budget across the lot. So you know that exactly what you're doing. If everyone performs exactly as you want them to, you know what the outcome is going to be in terms of performance and in terms of net impact on your margins as well. And I think that's it for today, Holly. I think that we've found, one last thing. Sorry. One last thing, and that is to do with the money side of things. Now, you will hear some folks challenging, like, is money? Anyone that's challenging that is just trying to make more money for themselves. That's the way that I read it. Like, money is super important, and we should be teaching the younger generation that it's important. It's not everything, but it is important. It solves a lot of problems. It drives everything else in our lives. But it's not actually the money that we pay people. It's not the commission. It's what they plan to do with that. And this would be my tip that anyone can introduce into their business. It's going to vary. You might have someone that's just very material, wants a new watch. You might have someone that wants to get on the property ladder, someone else who's getting married next year. That's their real motivation. Make sure that you and your managers know this, and then ensure that you've embedded this in your performance management processes. So,
and coming up to the end of the year is a fantastic time to ask, isn't it? Yeah,
100%, and particularly once we get into next year, when you're setting new year or new quarter targets, but also just in your routine process, your one-to-ones, your appraisals, all of that stuff. Just make sure that you're always on the pulse of what's actually driving this person in your business right now and for the short to medium term, and make sure you're leveraging that as best as you can as part of still that cohesive, well-rounded program. That is it for today.
Okay. So in my old company, I was really passionate about this and understanding what drove everybody. And we had a massive board in the office that had everybody's dreams on it for that year. So it was like, get a car, buy a house, move out, go on a 5-star holiday. And every month we would be accountable to each other, and we'd discuss how we were meeting those goals. Everybody knew what everybody wanted to achieve. Nice. And like, then once a month, people would actually genuinely hit them. And it was such an amazing feeling when you realize that someone who you'd been sort of working with over the last few months to kind of check in on actually did it. And we were all really, really invested in that. And when someone joined the business, we made them go through this process after like a month to say, what is your goal? What is your target? And that accountability and that understanding of everybody made such a difference. And that was one of the best things I ever did in my old job, was just having that visibility and driving those conversations. And that was so easy to do once you realized you had to ask those questions and have that understanding of your team.
Yeah, I love that. It is a cultural thing, isn't it? And I think in some firms that might not be appropriate, but I think for the majority it really is. And particularly when you have that component of like your colleagues and your peers knowing what your personal goal is and being able to celebrate your progress and attainment of that over time. I think that's really big. And I am expecting to see a lot more of that as we move into next year.
I hope so. And you know, it's made me realize once again that I have not done that currently in the business at Restack. So that's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks. And I'm going to roll that out internally for us, because I think it's so important to have that.
Well, use your health check, and that'll help you to know where else you need to make changes. Okay,
I will do my best. I will get that done next week. Well, look, as usual, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today and chatting everything through. What is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Probably LinkedIn. My email's on the screen there. It's just carl@conquest.io or via LinkedIn. And I say this every time I speak, but I am honestly completely open here. Anyone that wants some help, you want to grab 15 minutes, I'll try and help you if I can. So do feel free to connect with me and ping me any questions that you've got.
Yeah, and I think definitely, and now at this time of the year when a lot of stuff is naturally changing, now is a fantastic time to rethink this, relook at it, and kind of get aligned for what I'm sure is going to be an exciting 2026 for us all. So look, thank you everybody for joining us. If you need anything from Restack, feel free to reach out. And most importantly, if you need anything from Carla or have any questions about anything commission, you know where to go. So have a wonderful rest of the day, everybody, and thank you so much for joining.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.